once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. I am your host Luke, you are the Cheap Shot Nation, and this is everything that happened during the show Crown Jewel, which took place in Saudi Arabia on the 2nd of November 2018. Notable by his return is the host of Crown Jewel, Hulk Hogan, brother, and his 24-inch pythons. Only see him once. Bigs up the show, calls it Crown Jewel, doesn't mention Saudi Arabia or anything, but yeah, it's okay to see him back. Just find it quite amusing that he's come back to host a show in Saudi Arabia, owing to the fact that what he's gone through and why he got fired in the first place. But there you go. That's that. Your host for the evening is Hulk Hogan, brother. And if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, as well as dropping us a like and clicking the subscribe button and ringing the notification bell to know when we upload new videos. And we're going to move straight on to the first match now, which is a World Cup match featuring all Americans and one Mexican who lives in America. But we're not going to get into the deets on this one. It is the first round match after qualifying on each show on Raw and SmackDown. It is Rey Mysterio versus the returning Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton. Of course, these two guys have had feuds in the past and have a deep history running through them. So the winner of this goes on to the, I think they call it the semi-finals in this one, but I don't even know how that works in terms of a tournament. But it's nice to see a tournament back as a one-night thing, which used to be a regular thing with King of the Ring. But Randy Orton is ruthless in this one, continuing where he left off at Hell in a Cell. Ray does lots of flippy, jumpy stuff as well. Orton targets the midsection of Rey Mysterio after he misses one of his high-flying moves. Ray does pick up the pace halfway through with some springboards and a faceplant to Randy Orton, leading to a near fall. Orton hits the Hangman DDT after catching Ray on a 619 attempt. Rey Mysterio then counters the RKO into a roll-up for the win. Short match, Ray picks up the win, moves on to the semi-finals. Very short match. Of course, they're going to be slightly shorter matches for this kind of thing, tournament kind of style. But Ray moves on. Randy Orton then attacks Rey Mysterio, working the midsection again, leaving Rey Mysterio pretty much unable to walk out by himself. His work here is done. Rey Mysterio moves on to the semi-finals. The second match is also a WWE World Cup match. Incidentally, the World Cup has Best in the World written on it. It's like it was made for someone, but I can't think who. And it is another SmackDown match. It's Jeff Hardy, the charismatic Enigma, versus The Miz, who apparently has been told that if he doesn't bring the World Cup home to SmackDown, there's no longer a place for him on SmackDown. Don't know where that storyline's come from, but yeah, what a weird decision. The Miz is probably one of the best superstars in WWE at the moment. And having him on SmackDown is just fantastic. But yeah, The Miz gets on top early in this one. Jeff Hardy just can't get going. He's not letting up. Hardy does hit a clothesline to come back ever so slightly, but The Miz does win after Hardy looks for the twist of fate, which is then countered with a roll through into the skull-crushing finale for the win. The Miz moves on to the semi-finals, and he is your second SmackDown person to move on to the semi-finals, and he's going against Rey Mysterio. And we're now on to the Raw portion of the World Cup, and the first round match for Raw is Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. Recently turned heel Bobby Lashley, and Seth Rollins obviously coming off the back of having Roman Reigns announce that he's got leukemia, get well soon Roman, and then being attacked by Dean Ambrose straight after, pretty much. So it's been a rock and roll week for Seth Rollins, still the Intercontinental Champion, and Bobby Lashley now has a mouthpiece, and he's just the destroyer that we know and love from TNA. Definitely a size versus speed thing on this one. Lashley shows all of his power, but also shows that he's got a lot of speed to match that power as well. Counters Rollins and into a throw after Rollins goes for a dive. Lashley remains on top for most of this match. Seth does dive twice through the ropes and gets back in it, but doesn't take long for Lashley to come back, countering Rollins on the top rope. Rollins does eventually hit the curb stomp for the win after Lashley telegraphs a spear into the corner and ends up hitting the post. Rollins then turns that into a curb stomp and gets the victory. Your winner of this match, moving into the semi-final for Raw, is Seth Rollins. So your second first round match for Raw features the veteran Kurt Angle versus Dolph Ziggler. I didn't even know Kurt Angle was in this, but Angle gives a good account of himself here, being that he's a part-time wrestler and more sort of on the mic than he is in the ring. Angle tries a German early on to the outside on Ziggler. Ziggler showing tremendous upper body strength to block that. Angle into the steps, gets thrown into the steps all the time. Drew McIntyre is a constant distraction to Angle on the outside. Dolph is relentless at this point with the sleeper hold and just attacking and beating down Kurt Angle, making sure he can't get up and use those throws that he's known for. Angle does eventually get back into the match with a triple German suplex combo, and that is then reversed into a spike DDT from Dolph Ziggler to get a near fall. Angle gets the ankle lock, and again this is reversed. Angle heads to the post. Ziggler hits the zigzag for the win. Again, another charge to the post. Ziggler gets out of the way. Zigzag win. Ziggler is your winner, going on to the semi-finals to go against Seth Rollins. So it's now time for some filler match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. It is The Bar, which I watched this with Woody last night, and we both said, when did they win the championship? Just goes to prove that because don't have Sky, we've got the network, and can't watch SmackDown and Raw, don't know when things are necessarily going to happen. But I'm glad to see that The Bar do have the championship. They have recently paired with the returning Big Show, who is now heel, as their muscle. So that's a nice little trio, and they're going against the former champions, the trio that they beat to become SmackDown Tag Team Champions, The New Day, who ride down to the ring on a magic carpet. I'm not quite sure whether that's offensive or not to Saudi Arabians, but literally they were blowing smoke up their arses because there was smoke and things coming out of the magic carpet, and it was just weird. But it was New Day weird because they were throwing pancakes into the crowd, and it's just like, what? New Day weird. So The Bar does stay on, has control of the match for a lot of the match. Big Show does get involved. It is Big E and Kofi Kingston in the Freebird rules for the New Day. Big E evens the odds after the beatdown on Kofi Kingston, the smaller man by the bar. Big E evens the odds after getting the tag and goes for a charging spear to the outside, where Sheamus gets his knee up and counters that. The Bar is back on top. There's a bro kick to finish the match after Big Show gets the distraction and hits the WMD on Big E to retain the SmackDown tag team championships and remain the champions on SmackDown in the tag team division. Again, another good match. Very short-lived, but there's a lot of matches to get through on this night, so that's fine by me. Furthers the storyline. I'm sure New Day will get another championship shot in the near future. And so we move on to the semi-finals of the WWE World Cup, featuring all Americans and one Mexican. And it is The Miz versus Rey Mysterio for the semi-final match. It's a back and forth contest. Rey Mysterio not showing any signs of the beatdown from Randy Orton that he suffered in the first match of the night. Gets an early flurry on the Miz. Miz comes back quite quickly and gets the near fall after hitting the skull-crushing finale. Mysterio goes for the frog splash to finish the Miz off after another back and forth contest. The Miz gets the knees up, blocks the frog splash, and Miz gets the roll up and the win after Rey Mysterio goes and hugs his stomach, noting the beatdown they took from Randy Orton earlier in the night. Your winner going on to the finals for SmackDown is The Miz. Your second semi-final for the WWE World Cup features Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, two guys who've had a lot of feuds, big feud for the Intercontinental Championship very recently, in fact, going back and forth between them in the semi-finals for Raw. Rollins is on top. McIntyre does get ejected very quickly from this match. He shows that he's there and gets a lot of distractions for Dolph Ziggler to get on top. Dolph Ziggler hits a jumping DDT, hits a neck breaker on Rollins, but can't put him away. Dolph is dominant against the Intercontinental Champion with a super kick that gets blocked to a ripcord knee by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins gets back on top at this point. Ziggler is then sent to the outside where Drew McIntyre shows that he's there again, makes his presence felt on the outside, and there's a suicide dive and a springboard that is missed for Dolph Ziggler to hit the Famouser and a superplex with a roll through that's counted into a zigzag. Another super kick by Dolph Ziggler after Drew sends Rollins flying off the top rope trying to hit a frog splash of his own. Dolph then hits the zigzag again and gets the win. Dolph Ziggler is your winner, goes on to the final of the World Cup, featured later on in the night. And we're now on to the main events of the evening. There will be 4 of these, including the World Cup final. Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. A lot of missed opportunities between these two based on the feuds that they've had in the past and the epic matches that they can put on. It's gotten better in recent months, but this shows it's a decent match, but it just shows that they need more time to work through their program and get a better match, put a better match on, tell a better story. It's another even back and forth match as you can expect from these two. There's a springboard forearm to the outside by AJ, but the match turns after Joe hits the suicide dive and AJ smacks into the announce table, it looked really harsh. Tremendous velocity by Samoa Joe, big man that can fly. There's a calf crusher on Samoa Joe. We know Joe picked up an injury the last time these two guys fought in a WWE ring. Gets the break in the ropes. The phenomenal forearm for the finish and the win. Now I expected a calf crusher finish or even Joe to pick up the championship in this one, but AJ continues his run, coming up to nearly a year. I think it's a year next week, that he will have held the WWE Championship, and that's phenomenal. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It is a really good run. There's a little iffy bit in between with his feud with Shinsuke, but generally he has been a fantastic fighting champion, and AJ is still your champion, picks up the win over Samoa Joe at Crown Jewel and moves on to his next feud. So it's now time for the Universal Championship match. The vacant Universal Championship, having had to give up the championship, Roman Reigns announcing that he had leukemia and he's going off to fight it. Again, good luck Roman, we hope you get better soon. It was originally supposed to be a triple threat match with Roman Reigns defending against Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman. But it's now one-on-one for the vacant championship. So it's only been going for a couple of years and it's already been dropped voluntarily twice, this championship. And obviously not defended that much because Brock Lesnar has had the championship for quite a long time of that couple of years. But there's not much to say about this match. Baron Corbin comes out with the championship, both guys being introduced. Baron Corbin then clocks Braun Strowman with the championship, giving Brock Lesnar the upper hand. 3 F5s later, Braun Strowman still kicks out. There is a boot by Strowman, a mini comeback, another F5, then puts down Strowman. Brock Lesnar wins the match. Absolutely the worst match I've ever seen in a WWE ring for a long time, and that's saying something. Even the squash match with Goldberg was more entertaining than this, just because there was interference from the acting general manager in Baron Corbin, and it's just awful. Such an awful way to give the championship back to Brock Lesnar for him not to defend it again. And a lot of people are very angry about this, which is fine. I'm going to still watch WWE. Just keep an eye on SmackDown. Obviously, Survivor Series is coming up very soon as well. So we'll see how that goes. But I will nominate this as my designated piss break match, and you should see the banner going across the screen as we speak now. But yeah, your new Universal Champion, 3-time Universal Champion I believe, could be even more, is Brock Lesnar, and he goes over Braun Strowman quite easily after the interference. Yeah, not much more I can say about that one really. And we're now on to the penultimate match for Crown Jewel. It features The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler in the finals of the World Cup. The Miz gets injured early on in the match, and the referee's ready to award the match to Dolph Ziggler in this one, and obviously the win of the World Cup. But Shane O'Mac does not want it to go down like that, so he takes The Miz's place as The Miz gets escorted out of the building, escorted to the back by a couple of referees. Ziggler hits the zigzag after Corbin sent to the back on The Miz, and that's how he got his injury. Yeah, Shane basically comes in, beats down Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler hits the zigzag. Baron Corbin gets ejected from the ringside area. Shane goes coast to coast and wins the match and the World Cup. And now Shane McMahon is the best in the world. Such a waste of a great idea of bringing back a tournament. I don't think this was reflected by Woody, who watched it with me. He quite liked this spot, and I suppose a bit like the Nicholas thing at WrestleMania, I'll get used to it. But I think he could have brought down someone else from SmackDown and then they could have won it or something. But Shane McMahon is the best in the world and the World Cup winner in WWE. Let that sink in. Here comes the money. And your final match of the evening at Crown Jewel featured D-Generation X, Triple H and HBK versus the Brothers of Destruction, The Undertaker and Kane. These guys still know how to tell a story. Obviously it's a bit slower than the other matches we've seen during the night, but it was still a really good finish to the show. Very even Stevens match all the way to the end. It start with The Undertaker and Shawn eventually going at it 8 years after Shawn Michaels was retired by The Undertaker. The whole idea of this was that Shawn stayed away because of fear. In reality, he did retire. So yeah, stay away, Shawn. But he's come back and he's shown that he's not missed a step. He's still as good as he always was, or as good as he can be at 50 odd years old, but he can still do it. Notable in this match is that Triple H does pick up an injury really early on, and you can tell he can't move his arm. It's apparently a torn pectoral muscle, which must absolutely suck. So get well soon, Triple H, and hope you recover in time for your next part-time match, because all your matches are really entertaining. As much as people say, oh, he's part-time, but you've given us a lot of things over the last couple of years since you've taken over. NXT has become fantastic, 205 has become fantastic, we've got the women's tournaments, we've got the women's wrestling, got NXT UK, so yeah, get well soon, and yeah, just keep making those really good decisions. So yeah, the Triple H works all the way through the match with his injury, which is phenomenal, really. Torn pectoral muscle, goes all the way through. You can tell by the end that he really doesn't have any use of the arm. But yeah, it works Undertaker over, goes through the table at one point. I think that was probably to keep him away from the action. He gets put through a table by Kane, and the Brothers of Destruction take apart HBK for a little while until Triple H manages to get back up onto the apron. The match turns when all guys are on the outside again, and Undertaker tries to throw HBK into the post. HBK reverses it. Undertaker goes into the post. Notable as well that Kane loses his mask, and we finally got the answer we always wanted. Kane's hair is attached to his mask. Of course we knew that anyway, because the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee doesn't have hair when he's parading around as the mayor. And it's pretty cool that he comes back and does a little bit of wrestling. I'd love an MP that did that here in Derbyshire. I think that'd be fantastic. So yeah, Kane eventually does get his mask back on. Didn't even stay on as long as HBK's cowboy hat at Super Showdown, which tells you how good the cowboy hat was. So eventually Triple H gets in, and Undertaker hits the Hell's Gate, the choke submission move on Triple H. A super kick then sends Kane careening into the Undertaker, breaking the move. Another super kick on Kane, followed by, I'll call it a pedigree. It wasn't quite fully hit, but a super kick pedigree. DX wins, and your winners are D-Generation X, and Triple H beats Undertaker 2 times in a row for the first time in his career in any matches, I think, especially pay-per-view matches. 2 times in a row, so and 2 times in a month as well, which is notable. So yeah, that is everything that went down at Crown Jewel on the it was the 2nd. There we go, it was the 2nd of November. I'm getting my dates mixed up. Went to go see Prodigy last night in Nottingham. Fantastic. And just getting off the topic now, but it happened on the 2nd of November, and it wasn't as bad as people made out. We watched it a little bit later than everybody else due to me being at work, but It was okay. It wasn't the best, but they did with it what they could, and yeah, I think they had to go ahead with it. Put some loads of money into it, and you know, kudos to the ones that did pull out for personal reasons as well. Triple H and Daniel Bryan pulled out, so they had to change the card last minute. But for every superstar that went over there and put on a show, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was okay. So there you have it. Overall, a pretty okay pay-per-view. It wasn't decent by any means. There was a couple of decent matches in there, but it didn't do enough to make the pay-per-view rewatchable, shall we say. So it's not one I will be rewatching anytime soon. Maybe out of curiosity in a couple of years' time, we go, oh yeah, let's watch that again. But that would just be it. It would be out of curiosity to see how it was, how it is in a couple of years. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It's worth a watch. Didn't agree with a lot of the decisions that were made, putting the title back on Brock Lesnar, for example, and Shane McMahon becoming the World Cup champion. Although taking it back to SmackDown, brilliant, great. But I do tend to think that that means that Survivor Series is going to be Raw's once again this year, as the Royal Rumbles were both SmackDown. Well, actually, no, one was SmackDown, one was Raw, and then Asuka went to SmackDown for a title match. So, yeah, well worth a watch. And yeah, let us know what you think of it in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can leave us messages on there as well. And yeah, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we are uploading new content. And you have been watching Cheap Shot Entertainment. I am your host, Luke. You are the Cheap Shot Nation, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.